Desperate times calls for desperate measures. This is a popular saying in Nigeria. But are we at such a time in the country? The rising attacks and abduction in communities is at an overwhelming level, with government and security experts profiling different strategies and approaches to dealing with the terrorists and other criminal elements. But not much has been achieved. For the government of Zamfara State, push has come to shove as the governor, Bello Matawalle, called on the people to acquire firearms to defend themselves, an idea some stakeholders criticize. What are the implications of taking unconventional measures in fighting insecurity? That's our focus on the program today. Thanks for joining. I am Ayuba Ilya. Before our discussion, I would like you to listen to the Special Advisor to the Zamfara State Governor on Intergovernmental Affairs, Dr. Sani Abdullahi Shinkafi. Take a listen. I'm calling on residents of Zamfara, in line with what the law provides, with respect to acquiring firearms. Everyone should acquire weapons to protect their communities due to the inadequate number of security personnel. I'm calling on people of this country to know that informants are our enemies. A day before yesterday, the Commissioner of Police had a meeting with the people of Mada community. Everything discussed in that meeting was leaked to the bandits. Therefore, informants are our enemies. Anywhere they are caught, and it is established that the person is providing information to the bandits, you should kill him immediately. Now, a lot of reactions have trailed this directive by the governor of Zamfara State. But how do you acquire a gun in Nigeria, and how do you legitimately make sure that you are not illegally acquiring firearms? Let's take a look at the process. First, the applicant must visit the office of the police commissioner in his or her state. And then the second stage, make a request that you want to apply for a gun license to the relevant official. Thirdly, the concerned official will issue you an application form for gun license. Then the next one is to complete the application form with all the required information as asked. Submit the application form, which is the next stage, along with all the documents required. Now, the next step to take is you have to buy a gun from a nearest gun dealer and provide the serial number of the gun to the police, which they will register on their records. The next stage, the application and attached documents will be verified and validated. The next is, if the application and corresponding documents are found sufficient, the officials will proceed to take required actions before issuing the license. Now, once the license is ready to be collected, the applicant will be contacted and asked to collect it by any applicable means. Now, it sounds so easy, but to talk more on this, I have in the studio Commodore Abayomi Balogun, retired, and also our own in-house analyst, Kende Amodu, to talk about this. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, a lot of reactions have trailed. This is not the first time that someone is saying, look, why don't we just arm everyone, to deal with this once and for all? So the governor is kind of amplifying what others have said in the past. After all, it is, approved by law. It is allowed that people can actually, acquire firearms. So why are we seeing the kind of criticisms that have trailed this directive by the governor? Let me begin with you, Mr. Kende.
Well, I'm not the expert here, but we know who the expert is. But I want to say that what the governor, that proclamation by the governor, was born out of emotions and sentiments. The problem we have in Nigeria today is the proliferation of small arms and light weapons across the Nigerian border. That means small arms and light weapons are in too much of the quantity in the country, and that's why you are seeing this violence. That's why you are seeing these killings. So it means weapons are in the wrong hands. They are in the hands of non-state actors. And that is what has compounded the problem. The problem now is tracking those weapons. There's been a task force that's been set up to do that in this country. In fact, across West Africa, since I can't remember the year. And they haven't, but they haven't been able to actually, you know,
mop up
those small arms and firearms. And those small arms and firearms have gone across the sub-region because of the conflicts that were in the various states, as in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Mali, of recent, which is about the most recent in West African region. And the effects of those small arms and firearms in the hands of wrong people is still affecting the sub-region. So I want to believe that when the governor made that statement, he wasn't thinking about the wider implication of guns in the hands of...
But, I mean, guns are already in the hands of non-state actors. In fact, if anything, the number of guns in the hands of non-state actors is more than the number of guns in the hands of state actors. So how do we match that, Bayomi?
I've heard some people say that, I'm not sure that's correct, that the guns in the hands of non-state actors are more than the ones, the authorized ones. We have to do a lot of statistics and a lot of study to come up with that. But for me, the issue at hand is why will a governor of a state, who is not a baby, who has been there and knows the challenges, suddenly come up and say his citizens should defend themselves? I think it's embarrassing to the nation. It's embarrassing to the armed forces, and a zero for our security architecture. Yes, first thing, we must provide security of lives and property. That's what first thing that any government should do. And he's been doing his best, but today everybody is blaming him for going that far and say, defend yourself. He won't be the first person. About a year plus ago, General T.Y. Danjuma said the same thing, that we should defend ourselves. How did he get to that point where Nigerians are calling for self-defense? That means the authorities are not doing enough. So we shouldn't just blame the guy. Why did he say so? Why will he wake up and say, go and buy guns? Yes, it's not as easy as he said, because where will you go to buy the guns? Where will you get the money? The normal people, except criminals who know what they want to do with it, will look for the money to go and buy. The ordinary you and me, how much is AK-47 now on the black market? Minimum, you look for like 1 million. Which citizens will raise 1 million to go and buy a weapon? So I think the man, his outburst was out of frustration. I think he's overwhelmed, because he was overwhelmed. He has tried different measures and nothing seems to be working. Now, in Zamfara State, you have the army, you have the Air Force, you have DHQ, you have other vigilante groups. Still, it's not abating. That means we must look at other options to solve it.
Exactly, which is why he is bringing this as an approach to deal with this. You know, it may sound unconventional, but it looks like that's where to go, because in most cases, some of these terrorists, they attack the communities and they leave without any form of resistance at all. So it doesn't look like we have enough personnel to actually go around, you know, the villages and some of these communities.
Yeah, thank you very much. We don't have, the armed forces does not have, and police, they don't have enough personnel to police Nigeria, because right now, there's crisis everywhere. It's everywhere you look at, people are fighting. They need security personnel. Yeah, people say we are lean on ground, we don't have enough. But me, I think what we have, if we look in the directions of technology, we will make up for it. Now, where are the bandits in Zamfara State? It's not only Zamfara State, it's just that they are more concentrated around Zamfara. It links Zamfara, Niger State, Kaduna State. There is a trough or a line of hills that they call forest around there, where these people, initially, They come down from the hills, attack people along Kaduna Birnin-Gwari Road, and climb up the sea. We didn't see that on time, and we didn't address them on time until they became big. They became cattle rustlers. Initially, we thought they were rebels from Chad or Niger that were coming down just to steal and go back. But today, they are now taking the laws into their hands and do whatever they want to do. For me, I feel we are not doing enough. The security agencies are not doing enough. Our security architecture needs to be reviewed. And
by reviewed, how do you mean? Is it in terms of, because some have talked about state policing, right? So if you say reviewed, what exactly are you referring to?
If we want to go in the way of state policing, right now the federal government is not agreeing to that. Now what do? Some states have been setting up vigilantes on their own. But if you go beyond vigilante and set up something similar to the Amotekun down south, southwest, it's 4 or 5 states that made up that thing. So when you leave a state as a criminal and when you move into the next state, they are monitoring you. So it's a network. You can't protect your area alone and think you are secure. Because when you pursue them, they will run into the network.
But this still brings us back to the issue of arming. Yes. Even the vigilante, right? We've had, even there's the arrangement of constabulary police in some states, and they are not armed. Some time past, I've heard even some of the commanders of the Amotekun Corps complain about not being armed. The same for every other vigilante group that has been set up. So that still brings us back to the issue of arming whatever volunteers that we are going to have. How do you approach this, Mr. Kendi? How is the best way to do this?
If you look at that clip of what went down, the special assistant, beyond arming and the security architecture, he also talked about informants in the various communities. And President Buhari has also echoed, or is it amplified, the need for communities to fish out informants. Because it is those informants that give the bandits or the terrorists information about communities. It is those informants that, will give the bandits the information about where security is and where they are not. You understand? And it's also those informants that will terrorize communities and keep the communities silent from identifying who the bandits and terrorists are. So it's a connected thing. I believe I also support the issue of arming, especially when you say you are talking about community policing and you don't give the community police arms, you don't give regional security outfit arms. So why are you setting them up? If you know that there is a real and present danger that is facing the communities, that is, I don't believe that the security agencies are overwhelmed, but I believe that they are not getting the right information to attack the terrorists.
All right, well, we'll take a short breather, and then when we come back, we'll continue our discussion on this. Please stay with us. right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Deadline, and here we are talking about who bears arms in Nigeria and what are the implications of allowing, just anyone to own a gun in the country. I have in the studio Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun, retired, and also our own in-house analyst, Kende Modu, talking about this. Now, it looks like we are shying away from the issue of, allowing people to own guns. This is an international practice, right? There are countries who have this. So if you say, taking from the point that you stopped earlier about informants and all that, we have situations where people are scared to even provide information to security personnel because they do not know, they are not sure what will happen after that. They cannot, defend themselves and all of that. So if you look at that, isn't it just, the right thing to, allow people to own these guns just to defend themselves? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to answer this. I'll break them into two. The first one is to own firearms. Firearm is not something you just call by the mouth. There are different categories. And that's why those vigilantes and regional security are yet to be given approval. Because you can't authorize somebody to go and buy AK-47, a civilian. No. Anything around that caliber of weapon, not state commissioner, not IG, the president must approve. Yes. But then when you come down...
that powers has also been delegated to the IG, isn't it?
Not totally. The IG has its own level. There are weapons that... Yes, the president will not come down and say, come and take it. No. He will give the instruction, but he must be in the picture of such caliber of weapons. There are three categories. There is one that the commissioner in the state could approve. The higher you go, the higher it gets. So after the commissioner, the IG, in fact, most times it's the IG that will authorize. But then coming to the commissioner, there is very few caliber weapons that he can. Maybe those Dane guns and the kind of local guns that they use in hunting that he can approve. So somebody is coming at you with an AK-47. What will you get to defend yourself? So it's not as easy as defend yourself. How would they get the money to even buy it? So the governor, there must be a different approach to solving this. It's not only kinetic means. And that's why I've said it severally. Even the president in 2019 signed a document called National Security Strategy. That national security strategy enjoined Nigerians to lay less emphasis on the armed forces and the police. And that we should shift focus to an all-inclusive approach, a whole-of-nation approach where everybody agrees that a challenge against one person is a challenge against all of us. So it's a collective thing that stems from the top all the way to the down.
But it goes beyond a policy document to get everyone to be on board, isn't it?
No, the policy document must be driven. The policy document is a guide. This is how I wish it could be done. That's the president. It was his directive. And I tell you, I read that thing severally, and it's so nice and it's so straightforward. How do you do it? You must have an umbrella up here in Abuja or somewhere that coordinates everybody. NGOs will be there, MDAs will be there, traditional rulers will be there, religious leaders will be there. Then you come down to NGOs and individuals, village heads. They come in.
Well, it looks like this is what we are talking about has gone beyond all these levels. If you talk, we've had countless traditional rulers, leaders that have been abducted themselves.
Very good.
So, and it just continues unabated.
No. Were they ever coordinated at the central? No, Shegumi is going his own way. Father Kuka is doing his own way. They must be under one umbrella. There must be a coordinator so that whatever anybody is doing, we are Everybody is criticizing.
But if you look at this, the governor of Zamfara State has tried this before, talking about amnesty, talking about dialogue with, with the bandits and all
But
of
the
that.
coordination,
but it hasn't worked.
The coordination is
and not
there.
just Zamfara State. We've seen the same thing happen even in
but the coordination is
Sokoto
not
State.
there. Once different groups see themselves as either being victims and then the other group, that division that is among religious groups, that is among ethnic groups, that is even among federal state tiers.
Yeah.
You understand? Unless there is a united front that sees this security as one, that what affects me affects you. Not that, you see, the problem we had, when, for instance, Boko Haram started, was that it didn't affect the other parts of the country.
We didn't mind.
So people, as high up as the presidency then, said, it's a Northeast problem. Let them be killing themselves. Now, that problem that festered, that affected one region, has spread to all parts of the country. When Boko Haram started, it was looked upon as a Christian, they are attacking Christians. Now, Boko Haram has not...
no religion.
It's not looking at any religion. It's attacking everybody. Now that Boko Haram challenge has mutated into now what we now have in the Northwest,
now,
which is now affecting other parts of the country.
While I agree that there is need for that unified approach, in terms of having a common front to deal with this, you have informants who are profiting from this.
That's the problem.
And all of that. How do you deal with such people?
You will. Let me tell you one small story that happened last week. A friend of mine, his driver was kidnapped in Niger State. And he came to Abuja. In fact, he was called from here. And he started, so when he came to me, he said, okay, just listen, I'm talking to kidnappers. They have kidnapped my driver. And they started talking. Now they agreed on the ransom and everything. Now who is going to take the ransom to the kidnappers? Do you know there are professional ransom takers who will take the ransom and take there and seek for the release of the person? So they identified one guy, and he said that evening, because the kidnapper said, you must bring the ransom this evening, if not we'll kill the guy. So they were begging the guy to take the ransom fees and go. And he said he can't go this night because they know him, that he will want to go in the morning. And he has been advised that he should look for somebody else. So he mentioned 2 or 3 other people that he can use. But because he's the one they know, they said, no, you are the one to go. And he collected the ransom. And he went that, but his fee now went up because it's against his wish. So he went, paid the ransom, got the release of the driver. Then when he came back, the community now asked him, did you identify them? He said, yes. That they've been around the village. That some of them saw them, that they look, strange. But he didn't know.
So in this instance, how does the security forces, who probably were just posted to the state to deal with this, how do they do not know the members of the community
that is
and
why,
all of that? How do they go about this?
Now, that is why we have a coordinating person. Maybe in a local government or in a community. If you see a strange thing, this is the person to talk to. And that person takes it up. It goes up the way and then come down if they need, there is need. But that one that sees a strange person, who have you directed him to talk to? Nowhere. Nobody. But once you have that coordinating center and the instructions come from up, it goes down. Yeah, police share some phone numbers. You may call that line, it won't go. But within the community, it's just standard that when you see a strange person, go here, tell the traditional ruler. It will
Abayami, at least we have a consensus here, and we at least we can agree that the number of security personnel that we have is not enough. How do we bridge the gap? How do we bridge the gap of what we need in this instance? Because definitely we need some kind of you may say, an unconventional recruitment process, or maybe an unprecedented recruitment, as far as security is concerned, to be able to bridge that gap.
Oh, yes. Where these guys are, we know. How many camps they have, we know. The Zamfara State people have all the data. But who goes there? That's where you come issue of manpower. Do you have enough manpower resources to cover that place? No. What else can you do? Technology. Technology will surely make up for the deficiency in manpower. Today, there are technologies that you deploy on those forests which you already know and remain there, and you are sitting in this studio, you are seeing them. So if you are seeing them without them seeing you, you plan for them. If they are planning to go and attack somewhere, you are watching them.
You know, the government have made the explanation before that why they are not going frontally with some of these bandits, like going to their enclaves and, you know, dealing with them right there, is because they do not want to incur collateral damages. You have, you know, other civilians who are probably abducted and are in their midst and all of that. So it becomes very difficult to like rain full force on them.
You are not raining full force. But you have the advantage of seeing them and predicting what they want to do. If you see them from now advancing towards this place, why won't you alert those people that these guys are coming? But without that kind of insight, you are blind. They just come, but then you are watching them. If you have that capability to watch and monitor them, which mode? Are they using bicycle? Are they using machine? Are they using anything? You are seeing, so you prepare. You have the early warning. Whatever you want to do in that situation, you do. If you want to attack them while they are advancing, why not? Because then, when they are advancing, they have left the collateral damage wherever they are coming from. They are going. I can't see. I used to be a pilot, and I hate to hear that they are seeing them on 100 bicycles or 100 motorcycles going around, and you will not just attack them. It's not possible.
But, you know, there have to be something that the civilians or the community members can do about this.
Yes.
Sometimes we've heard stories about how these terrorists will invade a community, sometimes even on foot, and abduct people on foot.
Yes.
You know, in broad daylight.
Very good.
And there's just nothing that the community members
because
can
they are
do
not
about
prepared for it. So you have something that gives you early warning. Whichever mode of transportation, you will know, you will see that. If they are coming on foot, it will even take them more time. So you have enough time to prepare for them. Why don't you remove the bridge? Will they cross? Of course, if they are riding by motorcycles and you know they will cross the bridge. If you don't want to attack them, remove the bridge. We do it.
All right, Mr. Kehinde, your last word on this.
It's like we've said. Bearing arms has great responsibilities. I don't think that all options have been fully explored before we talk about exploring the right to bear arms. Because we're talking about combat situations. What about people that have arms and utilize those arms in civil situations? Like if tempers flare and you decide you want to take a gun to your neighbor. These are things that happen. Let's not pretend as if they don't happen. So the idea of deploying arms or having communities take up arms is something that should be thought about very, very carefully before it is adopted.
All right, well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me and discussing this. We look forward to having you again. Because of time, we have to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
My guests have been Air Commodore Abayomi Balogun, retired, and also our in-house analyst, Kehinde Amodu. With that, we've come to the end of the program for today. Connect with us via all social media platforms to watch more, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. My name is Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching.